Northern Province.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My grievance debate will consist of a number of concerns that I just wish to raise here. One is in relation to a recent newspaper report whereby a foreigner, an expatriate, a foreign citizen living in Papua New Guinea, was brought before the courts, the district courts, and fined after having been found guilty of having in his possession a particular type of narcotic, a hard drug known as amphetamines, of a significant quantity apparently, for which in any other country or in many countries, the sentence is quite severe. Especially, let's say, in the Asian countries, where this type of offense would attract the death penalty or serious pecuniary action consisting of time in jail and then deportation, blacklisting of that particular individual so that that individual never comes back to that country. And that is how those countries deal with such serious matters, transnational crimes of that type. In fact, of all types. But in Papua New Guinea, we have fined this individual, and according to the newspapers, we have suspended his sentence, and we have allowed him to virtually walk out free. No wonder we are attracting the worst type of people into this country, who are rushing to do as they please, exploit this nation, take advantage of this weak situation or these laws that don't exist or exist but are not enforced. This is an insult to our people. Meanwhile, a Papua New Guinean, if he had been caught with a gram of, say, cannabis, he would have been severely punished, beaten, maybe even shot, sent to jail, spent hard time, years. There's something wrong here. Minister for Internal Security and Minister for Justice, this has to be looked into. But what's going to happen to this individual? Will the Department of Labor conduct an investigation into his work permit and cancel it? Will the Department of Immigration also follow through, determine what type of work permit, visa he was granted and cancel that visa and arrange for his deportation? What's going to happen to this individual? Or will he be allowed to stay here and continue operating at large at will and whim, and essentially telling everyone else from other countries who are here doing similar things, this is what you can do in this country called Papua New Guinea. You can get away with this. Why not? I wanted to raise this here because I think something serious needs to be done as a deterrent to these type of individuals, to these type of criminals. We can't be a wide open country where criminal cartels and their agents can just come in here at will and whim and do whatever they want, and then we just fine them and then let them to go out, do as they please and continue. This is happening throughout the whole country. In so many instances, this is just one example, where criminals like this are engaging in this type of crimes and getting away with it. Before that, we read about a sex syndicate operated by a Sri Lankan national. What's happened to that Sri Lankan national and those persons involved who were perpetrating those crimes against children, I might add, where in other countries these are very serious offenses. But here we are basically letting them walk around free, do as they please. Unbelievable. And on that note, I want to state, Minister for Internal Security, there used to be an organization within the police department called the Transnational Crimes Investigation Unit. This organization was established for the purposes of investigating these type of transnational crimes. I'm very familiar with that organization because I used to be the coordinator at one stage for customs. And it consisted of the police, customs, immigration, and from time to time the NIO. But this organization, well, it exists, but it's a shadow of its former self. It gets no funding. All the officers that were trained, we ensured they were trained abroad, have been displaced or sent and dispatched to other areas where they are no longer able to perform their duties as investigators or intelligence operatives investigating or carrying out activities to interdict transnational crimes. What's happening with that organization? Right now, that organization should be expanding, growing, with the growing threats that are posed upon this country by transnational criminals. And let me not start about the NIO, which at the turn of independence in 1975, we had 150 NIO operatives, intelligence officers in this country, operating under that organization. Today, we have less than 30. Every other country, when the country grows and expands with the expansion of the economy, and there is therefore an increase in threats and opportunities, they also expand the intelligence community. But in Papua New Guinea, we've actually allowed it to shrink. It's like gouging your eyeballs out and blocking your ears so you don't hear and see threats. That's what we have done consistently. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to raise those points and urge those ministers responsible for these areas to do something about this, to protect this country and its citizens. I mean, we can't have foreigners coming here and exploiting our children and then getting away with it, selling hard drugs and then getting away with it, carrying out various types of activities and getting away with it, being fined. 10,000 kina, what's that? That's less than $2,000. Whereas next door in Indonesia, he would have gone straight to jail, he would have been executed by the end of this year. We are sending the wrong signals to the world out there. We are telling them that Papua New Guinea is wide open for exploitation by this type of entities, this type of criminals, this type of cartels. That's not the message we want to send out. Mr. Speaker, I also want to make some comments in relation to the recent laws passed, the bill that was brought here by the Minister for Commerce and Trade in regards to restricted activities. This is great, great news. My question is, how are we going to enforce this? Because the IPA doesn't do that. If you look at the IPA structure, they are a structure designed merely to rubber stamp organizations that are coming here to be created as business entities or associations. They're not out there enforcing the law. I mean, they can take a drive from wherever they're operating in this province, I mean, in Port Moresby, and they can see many of these laws being breached. What are they doing about it? So if they can't enforce the existing laws, how are they going to enforce these laws? That's my question in relation to that bill. We are great at passing laws. Enforcing them is another thing. We don't do very well in that area. So when whoever it is from whatever country is here, let's say he gets a company registered for operating in Port Moresby, carrying out the business of, say, a hardware, but then he's ended up in another province buying gold and exporting it. How are we dealing with that? This is a real situation. This happens throughout the country. What's IPA doing about that? So if they don't have the enforcement mechanism, if they don't have within their structure an investigations unit, a prosecutions unit, then how are they going to enforce the law? The laws that we are passing here and congratulating ourselves and feeling great about. How are they going to do that? Are they going to refer it to the police? Well, police can't do it because the police are already overwhelmed. And the unit that probably could do it is not even funded and does hardly exist anymore. What we have to do is take a very firm posture against this type of individuals and companies that are coming to this country. Enforce the law. Ensure that we send the right signals out. And not entertain them and give them fines and suspend their sentence and allow them to wander around, do whatever they want again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.